welcome to Table Talk. We are glad that you're here with us today, and I am here with my friend Jen Hodge. You may or may not have seen her on the platform before, but she's part of our worship team, as well as many other hats here at Table Life Church. I'll let her kind of introduce herself. So say hi to everybody, Jen.
Hello, everybody. Yes, my name is Jen. I am part of the worship team here at Table Life. I also am on the facilities and finance team, and I am the church treasurer. Help a little bit in children's ministries too. These are some of the fun things that I enjoy doing.
And table group hosts.
Oh, and table group hosts.
Yes.
Yes.
I just thought of that. I was like, all these different hats.
Absolutely. Yeah, which is coming back soon.
It is very soon. Very cool. Yeah. And then what do you do professionally?
Professionally, I am a nurse. I work at an ENT office local here in the area, and have done that for, I think it's just about 9 years now. And did that right out of nursing school.
Awesome. Well, we are glad that you're here. I'm glad you're here.
It's good to be here.
Yes, so good. And so it is the start of September, the bear months. Are you happy about that or sad?
Very happy about that. Yes. I love fall. Fall's my favorite season, and I'm a fellow pumpkin spice coffee lover.
Yay, we can unite.
We can.
Yes.
I don't go so as far. I don't like all the other pumpkin spice like things like cereal and all
There's
the weird
so much.
Stuff. Yes.
Like people keep sending me like pictures of like it's different like cereals, like other baked items. Some like really, I'm trying to think like a pumpkin spice flavored like French fries or something. I'm like, no, that's wrong.
Yeah, that is wrong. Pumpkin cookies and coffee. I like those.
Yeah, that's allowed. Nice. Oh, very cool. So we just started the new sermon series, Jonah and the Fail, with the book of Jonah and everything this weekend. And I'm just super excited about it. I love the story of Jonah. Even the parts that like we'll get into that are kind of like, really, that's what happened? Like, the parts that we don't talk about in the children's version.
Right.
Not that it's like X-rated or anything, but the things that that will come up later in the story that I think are a bit of a challenge, but really illustrate like our journey of faith, and specifically that idea of failure and failing God and failing ourselves. And so I'm just curious, what if anything stood out to you in this kind of first message of the story?
Yeah, so it was kind of, I've grown up knowing Jonah and the
Do you know the song?
Story. I don't know.
Okay, yeah, I'll have to sing it maybe next week or something. I don't know it either, but one of our children's ministry leaders was telling me that this morning. So.
Exciting, yes. I'll be looking forward to hearing that. So I grew up like knowing the story really well, and I think in my mind I thought of like Jonah getting swallowed by the whale or the big fish being like a punishment for Jonah. I think that's like in my mind what I thought of, when I thought about it as a kid. And so I appreciated in your message you suggesting that was actually like God's provision of safety for Jonah, that had that fish not swallowed him, he had drowned. And so that was kind of cool. And then just to think about that, in my lifetimes where I've made a bad choice or definitely been running away from God or doing, what I knew was not His will for my life, and how God brings things along to save you from that and turn you away is a pretty cool thing. So I appreciated that point. One of the first things you said is God will often ask you to do things you don't want to do, and I really resonated with that, and I think of just maybe not things that I don't want to do, but I find God asking me to do a lot of things that I'm not super comfortable with in my life, and how when I do listen, He teaches me so much in those moments, and I that really resonated with me as well.
Yeah, well, it's interesting. This past week, I had a conversation with someone about Dietrich Bonhoeffer's book, The Cost of Discipleship. And now, just a warning, if you do pick that up, it's very deep, very heavy, but very interesting too. And so we were talking about how, following what Christ wants us to do, it costs us something. Like there's, and a cost. I don't know about you, but if I have to give up something, like that makes things super, super difficult because I want to stay in my lane, my comfort zone. But somebody pointed out to me, but there's also a cost of not following. And we forget that piece of like, yeah, there's a cost of following, but then there's also a cost of not following, and just how like there's consequences and things that come with when we do go our own way, or I do make like, decision, I know what the right thing is to do. And the consequence may be, it may be a comfort level thing to know that God's calling you to do something, and you don't, you stay in your comfort level, but you missed out on what God could have shown you or taught you or led you to do. And you just don't even know what it is that you missed out on. So I was thinking about that, and just how the way that, there's not always going to be the, like, everything's cheery and butterflies and rainbows, and all of a sudden I want to do everything that God's asking me to do. Like, there's going to be that pushback inside that's like, really? Like, no, I'm more comfortable here, or like, no, that would make me look weird, or just with a lot of things in life.
Yeah.
So
Agree. And I can think in times in my life when I wasn't obedient because of that, because I was uncomfortable, or I thought, well, I'm not really good at that, or this can't be what God has for me. I'm certain that I've missed out on blessings that God had in store for me if I had been obedient and walked through that. And I think some of the most difficult things and walking in obedience with God, and most uncomfortable things have turned out, when you look back on it, it's like, I totally see God's hand in it. He grew my faith because I didn't feel equipped for it, but he gave me what I needed at the time. And
you're so glad that you did.
And you're so glad you were obedient. Yes. Yeah, absolutely. And I've been on the other side where I definitely, knew that God was asking me to do something, and I chose not to. And, that's a really awful feeling on that side. But I think we do learn then, experiencing some of that. It's like, okay, next time time I do want to make a better choice.
Yeah, and that's how God uses that failure piece. Not so it's a dead end piece. Like, I think that's the beauty of it. Right. To know that, God can use anything. Like, just how he used Jonah's disobedience. And I guess, like, as I was like studying it too, what really stood out to me was, like, Jonah had very legitimate reasons why he didn't want to go to Nineveh.
Right.
Like, those were legit. Like, he would have been killed. Like, these are mean people. They do awful, awful, awful things. And he probably knew somebody that happened to. Like, and how many, like, times I have very legitimate reasons. And God's not saying it's not legitimate.
Right.
I think that's where we get, like, very... just thinking about how that can go, but sometimes it goes in the face of that argument, or that face of that excuse, or what it might be. So I see myself in there a lot.
Yeah, same.
So and then that idea of him going his own way, getting on this ship, and first that there's always the ship there's always going to be a ship available that's going to take you away.
Right.
Like, that's, and I think sometimes I find a lot of people get caught up in the whole, like, sign thing, the sign from God.
Yeah.
And I think we need to be cautious, because it can also be that we're looking for that escape hatch, just like Jonah did, and we see that boat that's really taking us away as, oh, well, God must be providing this boat too for me to get on.
Right.
So I think just because it's there, like, there's always going to be another option.
Right.
And we have a choice. We have a choice. God gave us a choice.
Yeah, for sure. I think the other thing that stuck out to me and really spoke to me, delayed obedience is really disobedience, because I find that's me sometimes, for sure. I don't necessarily, there's not been lots of times in my life where I'm running however many miles away, you said, in the opposite direction, going really fast. That's not usually the way that I disobey. Mine is more like, oh, well, I had this tap on my shoulder, I thought God was asking me to do something, and I thought, well, I'll just wait till tomorrow, or, he'll make it really clear to me. He'll speak out loud to me if he really wants me to do that.
Right.
And so, that tends to be more me just kind of like ignoring that still small voice in my life sometimes. And less of like getting on a boat and going 2,500 miles away like Jonah did.
Right. Yeah. It's more of the kind of like the kind of stationary disobedience, whereas like the running away is one, but they're not doing anything. And I think we can look around too, just like that idea of indifference too, even in things in our world and our community, and how like being a bystander can be the worst thing that you can do too. Like when you see acts of injustice being committed, or you don't say anything. Like that can be just as much as participating in that disobedience, as actively doing that too. So I think being mindful of that too, like there's a call on us, just not doing anything or putting off. Maybe I shouldn't say anything. Maybe I shouldn't do anything.
Or the waiting, like someone else is
somebody else
take care of this.
Yeah.
I've been guilty of that one as well. Like the need is presented, and it's like, oh well, but there's other people like who will step up.
Yeah, and it can be like once again that comfort level thing. I think that can just totally change our mindset, change how we see ourselves active in that too.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, but it's just funny how a story that has been shared over and over for several thousand years now, God continues to speak through, work through, and we can see ourselves in that.
Right.
That also knowing that Jonah's disobedience, our failures, and I think this goes to whether it's failing what God's plan is for us, but also just like our taking risks in life, and trying something for the first time, taking a business initiative, or maybe a job change, or whatever it may be. We can get hung up so much on the failures and not see how God often can position us through it.
Yeah, the redemptive piece is huge. And I've seen it so much in my life. I mean, God gives us chance after chance. He's not done with us. He's always working. There's always an opportunity, that he'll present that maybe we didn't do it right the first 7 times. But there's he can use our messes, our mess ups, and make really beautiful things out of it. And that's like not us at all. It's God's work through those things.
Yeah, and I think I know for myself, like I've been trying to get out of the practice of like things don't have to be like perfect too. Like I need to leave room for failure as well, like, and have grace for myself to know that there's accepting God's grace is one thing, but I think sometimes I am worse at beating myself up over a lot of things. So that's been a practice I know that I've been trying to work on, as well as just lead to the Lord to work on in me, is that I don't want to be the one that holds myself back from what God has in store, because I'm afraid, because I don't want something to happen again. The safe, once again, that safe spot is the protected spot. But what is that? I mean, I even think of this venture that we're doing with the supper table, starting here at the at Table Life Church, and this community dinner. But it's more than a dinner. It's building relationships and having discussion, and faith is a part of that. And like up until this past week when we started, we had no idea what was going to happen. And and we've put money into this. Like we got a grant, so much time and energy. And somebody asked me, like, well, how many people do you think are going to show up? Like, I have no idea. And I'm like, this could be a total flop. We could have nobody show up, and we're basically sitting there looking at each other and that kind of thing. But that's not what happened.
Right.
And the people that joined us were really excited to be there and about it, and found community and starting to build relationships, and it's just really beautiful to see that. And you know, and my prayer, it was funny, my prayer that last week was, you know, God, whatever success looks like for you, that's what we want. And I don't want to get so held down to say, oh, we need this number of people to show up, we need this to happen. But hadn't we tried it, then we never would have known.
Right.
We could have said, hey, this is too much, we don't have the time, we don't have the space. What if it doesn't work? What if it does work?
Right.
Yeah, I think that's just like, we're gonna try things, and there are gonna be some things that nobody shows up. There's gonna be some things that we'd say are a failure in that way, but also how might God use that even to plant seeds?
Right. And God's idea of success and, you know, perfection, that's different than what we might have in our mind as well.
Yep. Yeah, that's definitely a good point. Cool. Well, thanks, Jen.
Yeah,
Thanks
absolutely.
for chatting today. And
Great.
yeah, good to talk about Jonah, and yeah, just this, I think, idea of failure overall. What does that look like? What does that mean for us, and how we see ourselves in that Jonah story? So if you are at the beach, look around for the giant fish, the sharks, the whales.
Be careful,
whatever.
though.
Be careful. You may be swallowed, and you may be inside for 3 days. So, but anyway, we hope that won't happen. So we hope you guys have a great week. We're gonna do the second chapter of Jonah on Sunday and see what happens next. But feel free to read ahead. It's a great little book to check out. I love some of the little Old Testament books too.
Yeah,
and we'll kind of see what happens. So have a great week, guys. We'll see you
everybody.
soon. Bye.
Bye.